So Element's job is to tell, or one of our jobs is to tell the stories of yours, basically, the sustainable business stories. Unfortunately, sometimes that has to be paid for. Rod probably won't be too happy about that, but it's an interesting thing, this blurring of the lines between editorial integrity and native content and advertorial and all that sort of thing, and it appears in Element reasonably regularly. Element is unique in the Herald in that it's an inserted magazine that has to stand on its own 2 feet. If it doesn't get enough advertising, it doesn't run. That's the way it goes. So I can't tell whether I'm a broken editor or an enlightened one in that respect. But obviously I've railed against this for a long time, and I've kind of come to the conclusion now that it's all just content. There are 2 kinds of content. There's good content that people will read, and there's content that people won't want to read. And I think that the stories that come out of New Zealand sustainable business are stories that people want to read, or that I particularly do. And a really amazing example is in this current issue, which you'll find out there. And I saw Chris Morrison here earlier. We wrote about them in this issue, and I wasn't aware that the Karma Cola is the only cola in the world using the cola nut. All the rest use, artificial cola nut flavouring, and it only just, I knew it was a great product and a great company, but the true genius of that product just dawned on me, and the storytelling potential around it, that they can provide a living for the farmers in Sierra Leone that grow this stuff, that the story around it is so strong. And in fact, I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I'm going to praise their ad that's actually in the paper, in Element this month, which has all the ingredients that goes into Karma Cola, how many cola nuts, all the spices and everything. So, it's a brilliant product, and it deserves to go absolutely massive. I was going to tempt fate and start off with a joke, actually. I may as well carry on with it. So there was Seamus and Mary. Let's call them Seamus and Mary Hickey, maybe. They just got into bed on a filthy night in Galway, County Galway in Ireland, and there was a knock on the door, and Seamus drags himself out of bed, puts his dressing gown on and his slippers, and he goes out and he opens the door, and the rain's sheeting across, and the wind's howling in off the Atlantic, and he says, "Who's there?" And there's nobody there, and he hears this, "Give me a push." And he goes, "You know what? You can feck off with yourself." And he closes the door and jumps back into bed with Mary. But he can feel Mary's eyes boring into his back, and finally he turns over and he goes, "What?" And she goes, "Seamus, I had you pegged for a better man than that. Have you forgotten not more than a year ago when we were in trouble and those lovely people helped us back on the road?" And he goes, "Jeez." And he gets out of bed, puts on his dressing gown and slippers. He goes out, opens the door, and he goes, "Where are ye?" And the voice goes, "Over here, on the swing." And I apologise for my terrible Irish accent, and I lived 8 years in Ireland, so you think it would be better, but the Irish are the best storytellers in the world. There's not a man, woman and child that can turn a really mundane subject into something incredible, where you just can't wait to see what's happening next. And so the art of storytelling is not something that I learned about over there. And I think that it's only imagination that gets in the way of any particular story about any particular business. So it's the only thing that separates your offering from a great story. And so it's another thing that I encounter a lot in Element. We've been going 4 years now. We come up to a subject that we've possibly covered before, so we have to come at it from a different angle to keep it fresh for people. So when you're telling your story, it's about thinking about those angles. What makes your customers or your potential customers, what makes them happy, what inspires them, what are their motivations, what pain are they feeling. We particularly find that our readers really like to stick it to the man for some reason. And the other thing is that whatever you produce has to be amazing quality now in order to get those readers, because I sign up for this daily email called Delancey Place, and I got one and I mentioned this at the launch of this conference called the Organised Mind, which says we process 5 times as much information every day as we did in 1986. The equivalent of 175 newspapers, 100 or 100,000 words every day. And your brain needs glucose and oxygen to function. It gets tired like any other muscle. And the result is short attention span and quick decision making. So you have, when you're producing your content, it has to be good. And the other great thing is that Google and Facebook and these internet giants are actually starting to police it so that it is good. And a good example is Upworthy. Many of you probably heard about this, but Upworthy had 90 million readers, and they were the inventors of the clickbait headline. It's the, in case you don't know what clickbait is, it's like an alien arrives in New Zealand, leaves again, and takes just 3 things. So you go, what are those 3 things? And click, and you feel dirty just for doing it, But so when Facebook saw that those things were arriving on Facebook, they started figuring out how long, when people clicked on those stories, how long they would stay on the Upworthy site to read it. And it was very short because it was such rubbish. And so, I think it's about a year, it dropped from 89 million readers to 19 million. And so it prompted them to put this new policy in where they have to produce original content, long-form content, good content. So that's a good thing. The other thing, if you're on trend as a business, you're probably producing your own content for publishing on your own platforms. Crikey, is that 18 seconds? Okay, won't be long. It's a good thing. It brings people to your site. It shows if the articles are, if they're authoritative. It shows that you know what you're talking about. It'll build loyalty. But first, I encourage you, if you produce a great piece of content, come and see us. Come and see us first. If it's really good, we'll rob it. We'll take it. We'll pretend we wrote it ourselves. Rod's bloody horrified over here about this. First reason is that it'll go in the quaint ye old newspaper, and you'll get a reasonable amount of readers straight away. Second, you get the third-party endorsement of somebody like Element or the Herald. And third, because we rule at SEO, search engine optimization, and we probably will for a long time. We're a newspaper. We produce original content, and we're linked to thousands of sites. And a good example of that is I wrote an article for a mattress maker who made latex mattresses with bamboo coverings and organic cotton, beautiful things. And she got all upset because she only sold 3 from the strength of that article, and one of them was to me. But if you Google eco-friendly mattresses, New Zealand, that article is the first article that will pop up under Google that is not an ad or a company. So it's strong. Last thing I wanted to do is talk about grabbing the opportunity. We call for 2 more minutes? We're not, are we? Very, very quick. I don't know if you came across the Land Rover example, and these are terrible gas-guzzling machines, but I've always coveted one. But I was waiting until the electric one came out. So these guys, 4 friends in Dunedin, had great times in their Land Rover. They had families, kids, the whole lot. Land Rover was in bits in one of their garages. The one guy put it on Trade Me, wrote this incredible story on Trade Me about, it was basically an ode to their Land Rover. Land Rover saw it, rather than just sharing it, which would have been a good idea, they picked it, they secretly bought it, took it to the garage, completely restored it right down to the stickers they had on it, met with one of the wives in secret and organised this, and went around the country to where they had these photos taken when they were young, and produced this incredible piece of content, an ad, and showed it when the boys were all around at one of their houses for the night. So they saw an opportunity and they took it, and there's opportunities in the press all the time. And it's just about keeping your eye open, coming to see me and saying, I want to be the spokesperson for our industry about that particular opportunity. And, maybe we'll take it, maybe we won't. But I think the more that you hassle and the more keep going to the press and talking about these things, the better it'll be and the more success you'll have in getting your story out there. So thanks.